Hello, everybody. We're back again for another fireside chat with Cindy Stone. I'm Natasha Koo from the Feminine Space, and we're really lucky because we're going to be diving into a topic that we kind of touched on throughout many, many different chats, but we're finally going to dive in to all about making courageous decisions and making the choices that can have the potential to change our lives and how to go about doing that. So here we have Cindy, and she's a psychotherapist and hypnotherapist with so much experience and so much impact on the world already. She's also the author of the upcoming novel, Scorpion from the Myriad series. So welcome, Cindy, again, and I can't wait to speak all about this topic.
Hi, everybody. It's really nice to be here. And I love this topic because we're all faced with choices all the time. And I think that our decisions and our choices are the true expressions of our souls. Mm-hmm. And so when we hold back on those choices and decisions that could change our lives, we don't give our soul a chance to be expressed. And so we're going to look at sometimes why these life-changing decisions we get all anxious about. And some of them, they're kind of scary to make a big change in life. And other times we just know and we just go with the flow and we can feel it's like the wind is at our back. And so that's what I know we were talking earlier about this, Patty, that we kind of want to create this conversation to help people feel that when they're making a courageous choice, that they've got the wind at their back and they just know and they flow and they go.
That's really beautiful because no matter the decision, it can be this beautiful flowing process. It doesn't have to be feeling like we're pulled in all sorts of directions and we don't know who to listen to. So share a little bit about your own experience of making such choices that you felt were so important, ones where you felt like, I gotta be courageous to make this happen. How was your own experience with, making these changes and actually saying yes to the transformation that can happen along with it?
Well, when I was much younger, I used to just agonize over making a choice and a decision. And I would agonize, it would drive me crazy. I think it drove my friends crazy. And yet, I always ended up doing it. I've never been a person to shy back from a decision, but they were just fraught with angst and, all of this stuff. And then I started realizing, hey, you know what? I always make these difficult decisions that are life-changing, moving to another country, which is always a big one, changing careers, all of that sort of thing. And leaving a marriage, those are big life-changing decisions. And what I realized is that there was always something it was like the universe was just nudging me towards these decisions. And once I stopped and realized that, then I could make decisions much more easily. Mm-hmm. And just last February, I moved from the city to the country. That's my most recent big life-changing change. Mm-hmm. And I just felt the universe picking me up and saying, it's now time for you to be in the country. You can write, you can think, you can do the more introverted things, the deeper, more profound thinking and time that you need for that, and connection with the land and nature. And then I got anxious partway through, and I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Mm. And then I just took a breath and I went, no, this feels so right. I can trust this choice. And it's not like, every piece of the choice went well. The sale of my house fell through at a certain point, and I was like, oh, is that a sign? And I went, no, it's not a sign. It's just a hard step through this process. And I just kept to my vision. And my vision was to get here. And it's just been a beautiful choice. Again, I think that this choice really reflects my soul and my soul desire and what I need to be doing in the world. And when you make these visions actions, then you allow your soul to be expressed. And the more you do that, the deeper your ability to make choices and expressions becomes. and comes into being.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That reminds me that every decision, every choice is leading us to a certain place, a certain situation, whatever it may be, closer and closer of just to where we want to be, what we want to do, and that place, it's like that stage we always want to go to. So it's like every step by step, we're going closer and closer to that place where we feel at home, where it feels
And,
right.
and I know a lot of people walk around the world not feeling fully empowered. And when I recognized that every single solitary choice we make, from what time we get up in the morning, we make is an expression of who we are and what we are at the deepest level of who we are. That is an empowering choice. And so every small choice I make, like whether to have what to have for breakfast or for dinner, it's an empowering choice. And I become more and more closer to who I am and to who I am expressing myself as. And so I really love making choices now.
Yeah, that's amazing because that reminds me that we're not just talking about one big decision that leads us to, a huge life change. We're talking about also the little decisions we make every day and how they do add up and how each step is leading us to a certain place, especially for those really repetitive decisions that we take for granted actually every day. And I know before we jumped on live, you mentioned about following your heart and how, these decisions are heart-based decisions. And, I have this friend and she's often saying, oh, I don't know who to listen to, my head or my heart. I struggle. I don't know who's right. And when I hear that, often the only thing I feel is, well, if you go with the head, you can find all the reasons for and against a certain decision. That's kind of my point of view, that the mind will make up, certain ideas, will find the evidence for the case that you wish to support. So either way, the mind will, make up all the blank spaces to fill in to support what it is that you wish to have or not wish to have. While the heart, it actually has a stronger direction, and I kind of call it like a compass inside, in that it does have a direction that is pointing to, and it's whether we listen to it or not. So did you also struggle with this heart and head, and what does it mean to follow your heart and to make decisions from the heart, Cindy?
Well, of course, a long time ago, yes, I did struggle with the head and the heart. And I have a great story. My meditation, Qigong, and Bagua teacher in the 70s, he's a Chinese man who was raised in Guyana, and then he was going to school in England. And he became involved in Tai Chi, Bagua, meditation, and Qigong. And he fell in love with this practice. And he had 2 little girls and a wife. And he decided he wanted to become a meditation teacher. But he was an accountant, and he had to make and he had a really good living, and he had a culture that had a very strong influence on him. His mom and dad wanted him to be an accountant, wanted him to be a good provider for his family, etc. But he wanted to be a meditation teacher. And in the 70s, that was a pretty outrageous thing. Now it's, pretty common, and people can make livings as a meditation teacher. Then it was not so common. But he followed his heart, and now, decades later, he has a very good school that teaches martial arts, Tai Chi, Bagua, Qigong, meditation, and a beautiful retreat center. And he's raised his daughters, he sent them to university, and he did what he loved. And he brings that love to everybody who learns from him, so it's quite wonderful. So I think these are the ways that we express ourselves and that we follow our heart. Now, there's a lot of things on the internet. We were talking about this earlier too, about how step 1, how to make a big decision. You look at the pros and cons. Step 2, make a leap into the unknown. Step 3, find your courage. And what we were talking about earlier is that with a conversation about making a life-changing, soul-expressing decision, it's not a intellectual thing. It's not a 1, 2, 3. It is a heart-based, heart-moved, almost like as if you are finding and creating your own destiny. Though that's the way that I like to do things. And I think that the people that you attract and that I attract other people that are really finding expressions for their heart and soul in their life.
Yeah, that's really, really beautiful. And that almost touches on, when we are in this really intellectual level, and I just kind of want to touch on relationships too, and what ends up happening in terms of the decisions we make in relationships if we're coming from this really mindy intellectual space. Because I had a client the other day and she was telling me all about the arguments that she's having in her relationship and how she feels further and further apart, the two partners. And I was kind of listening into what was happening, and I realized that most of the interactions were happening at a very, very intellectual level. They're both extremely smart, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when we kind of catch ourselves, whether making decisions or interacting with other people from only one source, in only the way that which we know, whether you work on a job and you're very analytical, you're doing your work here, you go back home and you're still here, then that heart-based decision and that heart-based expression and communication is lost, because we're still up here and we don't let ourselves to drop down and actually feel, hey, what do we want? What do we want to express to this person? And especially when we get into arguments or, when things get tough, we want to kind of hide up here in the mind. It feels safer because we feel like, well, we have a list of points to say. Doesn't that feel good? But sometimes that's a departure from what we're actually feeling. And a lot of the times the answer, or just to solve any, interpersonal, or even when we're talking about choices here, when it comes to the heart, it actually may be simpler because the process is more listening. For me, at least, is really listening and having that quiet. And when the head is going blah, 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 it's very difficult to listen down here.
Well, I think that particularly in relationships, you're really talking about the difference between ego-based decisions and heart-based decisions. And it's funny, my screen just got lighter there. So ego-based decisions are really guarded. When we're talking about the ego, we're talking about that part of us that has created and formed this crust so that we can greet and meet the world in a strong way and not get hurt like we did when we were children or whatever it is. And we want people to see us in a certain way. And so it's all ego-based. And when you're having an ego-based relationship, or when the ego, it doesn't have to be ego-based, but when our ego gets triggered in a relationship, we've got two egos that are fighting each other for power. And when we drop into our heart, that's when we can meet people with our vulnerability. And often there's just a hurt feeling in there. Often there's just a wish, like, I just want to connect with you. I really want you to hear me. I need a connection. I really want to hear you. I need to connect with you. And if people can drop down into that level, the relationship really changes. But when the ego has this tight grip on us, it becomes more difficult because we're very, very guarded in the ego state.
Right. And that relating to making choices and decisions, sometimes it's not just in relationships. Maybe it's our persona or our ego to the world, our image to the world, to families, to friends, to our colleagues, that which holds us back from making that decision, from listening to that voice that says, hey, that is the thing that I want right now. Did you also see the parallel here in that how the ego can play its role also from holding us back from making that decision?
Oh, absolutely. And there's also not just the ego of how we want to appear to other people, but this goes back to our core topic, which is core beliefs. And if our beliefs are that we must make our families happy, or if we don't do what our families want, they will die. Like these beliefs kind of get very strongly embedded, and they're culturally embedded, and they're societal and educational and family based. They can play havoc with our choices as well, because if you were raised in a family where you were expected to become a university professor, and instead you want to be a yoga teacher, that's one of my clients.
Yeah.
That's her life. It was really difficult for her to become a yoga teacher. And, there's tons of yoga teachers in Toronto. Like, it's just filled with them. They're on every street corner. Very difficult to carve out your little space and make, a decent money. And if you're a university professor, you make tons of money, but you make a lot, and you've got a great pension for your life. You're set. But as a yoga teacher, but in fact, you're not even set as a university teacher anymore, because it's hard to get tenure and all of this. And I think what this leads to is the fact that the world is unknown, and we are unknown, and every day we're creating ourselves. And every day with every choice, we create ourselves and express ourselves a little bit more. That's why I find choices empowering. And if we see them that way, we feel that empowerment every day, and we get stronger in that. So if we can embrace the unknown, we're able to make the decisions and make them more heartfelt, more with the wind at our back, going, I don't know how this is going to turn out. I have a vision, though, and I'm going to head that way. And along the way, you stay aware of all the different doors and windows that are there for us. Which ones are we going to open? Which ones are we going to walk by? And you just begin to learn how to trust your heart that you're going to open the right one.
Yeah, and that's gorgeous. That also reminds me of the last chat we have about inner voices. And no matter how loud the external voices are, whether it's from society or culture or your own critical voice, there is still a really strong voice inside, which is leading you to that decision and leading you to that door. And it might be connected with your heart, or it might be just your own intuition inside that is telling you it's okay and let's go for it. So any last words to share, Cindy, before we wrap this chat up?
We all have this gift of our hearts, and we all have this gift of knowing deeply what we want and who we are and how that needs to be expressed. We can have a whole bunch of stuff that's been stuffed on top of it, but just start digging, pulling all that stuff off, and find the core of who you are and what you want to do, and then you will be happy. And that's the only thing that really does make us happy and fulfilled and have great meaning.
That's so beautiful. So I encourage you to start experimenting, start making those decisions, maybe one at a time. And if you want to connect with your heart, connect with that voice, that will guide you to that door and gain even more trust for making these decisions, then check out the link below. And Cindy has recorded for you a wonderful meditation, a guided hypnotic journey for you so that you can hear more clearly these voices within you and to guide you to those doors, those opportunities, and those choices that will make your life brighter and lead you to those happy places of self-expression.
This is one of my favorite guided meditations. I love this one, so please listen to it. I think it's life-changing. So I thank you again, Maddie, for this opportunity, and it's been wonderful talking to everybody.
Yeah, so thanks for joining us. And if you want to reach both of us, then feel free to get, just download that link and you'll find Cindy's website there, my link there, and feel free to reach out to us. So thanks for joining us, and see you until another Fireside Chat. Thank you for being here, Cindy. Bye.
Bye.